Hello everybody. So this is going to be a video on essentially how to rid yourself of anxiety completely. Shocker, it can be done. Wow, who would have thought of that? We can rid ourselves of anxiety. Yeah, a lot of people don't think so. A lot of people think you need to be heavily medicated and all this other crap, and you really don't. It's just ridiculous. Um, the goal of people who make medication, I mean, they're going to say it's to help you, but it's to make more money for themselves. So, I'm going to teach you how to completely rid yourself of anxiety for good. This is how to rid yourself of anxiety. Um, in order to do this, we first have to understand what anxiety is, the different types of anxiety, how it affects us, how it works, how our brains work, how it processes certain events, and then we can understand how to completely rid ourselves of it. Step one, this is very extremely important. I can't freaking um, express this enough. Make sure your brain chemical balance is in check. And again, if people say, well, my brain chemical balance isn't in check, well, go get your blood work done at the doctor and find out what vitamins you're deficient on. And then that will give you a good baseline to start with. The solution for chemical imbalance is not to medicate someone, it's to give them the vitamins that they're missing, okay? Super simple. So, I can't stress this enough. Go get your stool samples done, go get your blood work done, figure out what vitamins you need, and give yourself those vitamins. Because if you don't have those vitamins, you're fighting an uphill battle because your brain won't have the necessary things it needs to do this stuff and to operate at peak efficiency. Most people's brains are not operating at peak efficiency. Shocker. Shocker, shocker, shocker. Most of the world is in this haze of dumb ridiculousness where they're just like, TV, pornography, and junk food. And again, I'm not anti all those things. I'm just saying most people just pump themselves full of these things and then don't ever give themselves the good chemicals that they need and the good vitamins that they need to actually operate, and they wonder why they have anxiety. Shocker. It's not to rid yourself of pornography. This is not a video about that. It's not to rid yourself of anything. This is literally just how the brain works, why anxiety happens, and how to get rid of it. Super simple. Here we go. So let's break this down. I got notes here. I'm taking notes. I'm also a little nasally because I traveled to Arizona recently with the convertible top down and it dried out my whole nasal passages. I can't even pop my ears. It's really weird. Anyways, so let's go over this. Thing number one, is it situational or is it a constant hum? And then also, before that actually, oh wait, we already did the chemical imbalance thing. So make sure you got your vitamins taken. Take your vitamins. Find out what vitamins you need. Take your vitamins. Okay, now that we got that out of the way. Situational or constant? So a constant feeling of anxiety is going to be something where you're just constantly feeling it, almost like a refrigerator hum or a fan going or something like that, where you almost get numb to it after a while and you're just constantly anxious. That would be consistent anxiety. Situational anxiety might be in a certain social situation, like social anxiety, like when a certain social event happens or a certain thing happens where it triggers or turns on your fight or flight and you get anxious. That's situational. First, we're going to focus on the constant anxiety, because if you don't address that, just like if you don't address the chemical imbalance, you can't do this step. You got to do each step in order to get to the end goal. So again, first take your vitamins, then we got to address the constant anxiety, because if you are not consistently calm, how are you supposed to access those feelings of calm when you're in situationally uncomfortable and anxiety-ridden situations and not get overwhelmed? So again, we have to make a consistent baseline of being calm. So how do we do that? Again, the answer is through emotional anchors. So what does that mean for us? If you're going to go out and practice this again, because this is all pragmatic experience, well, here's what I want you to do. Reference a time that you were calm at some point in your life. Reference it. Go back to that time, go back to that feeling and feel what it was like, okay? Make sure you're in like a secluded environment, wherever is most comfortable to you. Do this. and find out when you were the most calm and collected and serene. Basically, what you would want to be like all the time, like that calm, collected person, whatever that is for you, find a time where you were like that, your happy place, whatever it is. Again, this is not going to be a find your happy place video. Again, this is not that. This is not woo. This is not all spiritual and weird. This is literally just pragmatic things you can do to rid yourself of anxiety, because the brain is a mechanism. We need to understand how it works. So find that place where you were calm and elicit a strong emotional anchor with that. And what that means is to basically make that very important to yourself. And again, you can do this through the five senses and your imagination. So if there's a certain clothing item that you wear that makes you really comfortable. Again, I wear Sofa Surfers, which are these swim trunks that are made out of really soft material. They make me feel really calm and comfortable. It could be a song that you listen to that makes you feel super calm. Find something that's emotionally relevant to you that makes you feel super calm. Find everything, write a huge list down that makes you feel calm, and do all of those things to get yourself in that calm state. Now, once you have yourself in that calm state, start to become familiar with it. Start to really get to know it. Because what you need to do is you need to tell your subconscious, which operates automatically all the time out of habit, you need to get it familiar with this feeling of calm. It's easy for you to feel anxious right now, so it needs to be easy for you to feel calm. And you can do that. It's actually quite easy. Again, you need to find these things that make you calm and start practicing them. For me, what I did was, my things that made me feel calm were a certain type of music, a certain, after watching this certain movie, I got in this mood and I was like, oh, I'm so calm. Certain clothes I wore, I did literally everything to make myself feel calm. And I just started to marinate myself in that feeling. And you need to marinate yourself in this feeling because you need to make it emotionally relevant to yourself. If the subconscious doesn't realize it's emotionally relevant, it won't pick up on it and won't make it your new normal. This is what you need to do. You need to show it that it's your new normal. This can take up to like 2 weeks. You're going to feel calm when you're doing this, of course, but in order for it to become just super easy where you're that way all the time automatically, you need to start using these emotional references and remind yourself. Take deep breaths. Breathe in for 10 seconds, hold your breath for 10 seconds, and breathe out for 10 seconds. It's really hard to do. Don't pass out, but it'll help you come back to center and feel calm again. Do these things on a consistent daily basis when you're at work, when you're talking with your friends. The second you start to feel anxious, remind yourself. And what you're doing in doing this is ingraining a new pathway, a new neural pathway for your brain to reference as your emotional baseline. And my friend did this. She was an emotionally anxious, riddled mess, couldn't even hold a conversation with people. And once I got her to start doing this, I did it with her, so it was a lot easier for her. But I did it with her. I helped her. I reminded her all the time. I was on her all the time. And she did this, and she's a calm person now compared to what she used to be. It's insane. It's night and day difference. You just need to feel calm. So again, the breathing, write down all the things that you can do to make yourself feel calm and do those all the time. That is how you create your emotional baseline of calm, your chill, whatever you want to call that for yourself. But you need to create emotional anchors for these things to help yourself remind yourself and to psychologically and physically get in that calm state. You need to keep making it a habit because your baseline is just a habit. As a child, when you were put to bed, by your parents, your body started to realize, oh, this is bedtime. It's the same thing. It can be redone. You can do this with dogs, for crying out loud. Cesar Malone does it with dogs. Shocker. All mammals are this way. We have our baseline, our autopilot, and you can re-ingrain that autopilot to do different things. You need to create that emotional anchor point. There, I said it. That is your baseline emotional. Now we go to situational anxiety. Situational anxiety is going to be in like 5 different main categories. There's going to be other categories, but it's all going to be the same thing pretty much. So one of them would be like a post-traumatic social thing where someone's yelling at you, or you might hear a door slam and your heart might start beating. That happened to me because growing up in my household, doors were slammed, and just like a veteran that has a bomb go off and they hear a door slam or a loud bang from a car backfire, whatever it is, they start to feel all anxious and they have a lot of anxiety. So what the brain is doing there is an emotional imprint created on the subconscious, And in that moment, there's that emotional imprint, whether it could be you yelled at as a child, it could be you lost your mom in the store, whatever it is, there's a strong emotional reference made in your subconscious, and then it references the current experience through that understanding you got in the past. So what you need to do is you need to go to that past understanding and heal from it. Okay? So again, that's done by going down inside of ourselves, bringing up the feelings, bringing up the essentially the frame that we were in. If you were a child and you lost your mom at the store or whatever it was, you need to start re-experiencing that and bringing up those emotions, going super, super deep, and then letting those feelings go through like just sitting there with yourself, letting them go, and reparenting yourself, because that's what that is that's a fragmented aspect of the self that can then interfere with the current event, the current situation that you're experiencing. Okay, so number 2, the next thing is going to be the other category, which is an insecurity. So say if you go into someone's house and you're going to take a big dump and you're afraid they're going to smell your rancid poo or whatever it is, or whatever insecurity that you have, we feel like we're going to be rejected by the group, triggers the fight or flight, and then guess what? We feel anxious. Again, this is another situational anxiety scenario. So what do? We ask ourselves these questions. Ask yourselves these set of questions right here. This is the exercise. You ask yourself, well, if that's true, what does that mean about me? Okay? You literally keep asking yourself that question over and over again until it loops around the same 2 things. If that were true, what would that mean about me? Or what would happen? So someone who might be insecure about getting their poo smelling too bad in someone else's house, they're going to say, well, what would that mean about me then? And a lot of times that person's going to say like, oh, that means they wouldn't like me or they think I'm gross. And then you ask them again, and then it'll start going down the rabbit hole, and they'll start going to like, oh, then they won't be accepted. And then you'll go even deeper, and eventually a lot of the times for a lot of people, it loops around the core feeling of not being loved, whatever, as a child. And it's kind of crazy how that affects your current life, but that's literally how it works. Your brain has these emotional references and experiences current reality through the lens of what that is. So you need to go back in there and practice self-acceptance, and I'm gonna make another video all about self-acceptance and how to do that pragmatically and practically, okay? So the next thing would be a social venue, a social anxiety. So social anxiety, this is a big one. A lot of people struggle with this. Social anxiety. In any given social situation, we are giving off this emotional radar, this emotional pinging, and essentially other people pick up on it and mirror it back to us. So if we don't accept ourselves, people aren't going to accept us. Shocker. Shocker, it's a mirror. Wow. So it's the same thing as if you're looking in a mirror. So if you don't accept yourself, how do you expect anyone else to accept you, huh? How do you expect anyone else to do it? That's your job to accept yourself, but where do we get that acceptance from? That unconditional love, that unconditional acceptance that we talk about, we hear everywhere, that we're all searching for on some aspect. Again, this is to create the idea that when we go into a social situation, people are friends, not foes, because when they're foes, then our fight or flight trips up, and then the anxiety triggers. Shocker. Again, this is all about that fight or flight. We don't want that fight or flight triggered. What is triggering the fight or flight? Become aware of your anxiety. That's literally the key to it, pretty much. And asking yourself why. So again, if it's a social anxiety thing, we need to have acceptance of ourselves. And again, when we accept ourselves, we accept others, and other people feel comfortable around us, and then they're our friends, not our foes. And then we can expand and we can socialize, and we don't feel that anymore. But where do we get that unconditional acceptance or unconditional love from? When we track it back and we find out what our core thing is that we're not getting. That can only come from something infinite, something that has no physical limit of the earth. And again, this is going to get a little weird. This is not religious in any way. This is literally just saying that, like, strategically and pragmatically, you can't have something that's unconditional that is finite, because there's a condition in which it doesn't exist. So you need something unconditional to heal something, and that's going to be that unconditional acceptance. So it needs to come from something infinite. So whether you think that's the universe, God, whatever you want to call that all-powerful thing, light, what, like, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I call it, again, I study quantum mechanics, metaphysics. Nature, existence is infinite, so I get it from that. My brain understands what the infinite is from that, and then gives it to myself, and then you create the new emotional reference point, and then you can live your life. That's a little hard to understand the concept of, so I'm going to create more videos about that, of course, if you want that. But basically, we need to give ourselves that thing that we are lacking with something infinite that's going to fulfill us, and then that creates the friend, not foe scenario. So, again, ask yourself why, self-inquiry on why we're feeling the anxious for the situational anxiety, and you can a lot of times get to the bottom of it. So again, that is pretty much the gist of how we go through anxiety. We go back into the subconscious, we realize what we're associating it to, and shocker, now the current situation is interpreted through clear eyes that have achieved the understanding that we have longed for the whole time. It's pretty darn simple. It's not easy to do if you don't have experience with it. But again, the key is going deep, asking within what is going on in there, and feeling it out, and really getting kind of emotionally mushy for the most part. Sometimes, like when I was going through some of the stuff to rid myself of some of the anxiety, and I started to cry at certain points to release the emotions, because crying is not a sign of weakness. Crying is just an emotional release. Some people get that through exercise. Some people get it through crying. Some people get it through yelling. I mean, whatever you want to do to get it out, to let it go, that's what you need to do. Again, that pretty much is how you get rid of anxiety in a nutshell. It's a super short video, even though it's about like 16 or 17 minutes. I'll go over more of the chemical imbalance stuff, and why people think you should have medication. If you're interested in that stuff, let me know. Again, if there's anything you didn't understand in this video, ask me in the comments section, because I would like to make another video to answer your question. So again, if this helped you and you think it helps someone else, share it with someone that would benefit from it. I mean, the only way to start solving these things and helping and to get to the point where we can be an accepting world and society where we're cool with each other and we're all here hanging out, having fun with each other and doing cool, awesome, radical stuff, is if we understand ourselves first, because that's how we interpret other people. So yeah, shocker. How we treat ourselves is how we treat others. So you ever see someone that is rude to other people, they're rude to themselves on some aspect. So again, this whole thing is just about the self, learning who you are, and creating, again, the good chemical balance, and having the right vitamins in you to have the resources to pull from. And then you have your emotional baseline, so you can actually address the situational anxiety from a state of calm, not other anxiety. And then you go through the situational stuff and you go through that. So that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, share it with someone that might benefit from it. And I hope to make more videos like this if you guys find them helpful. So, bye.